This is a great organization called Button Poetry that searches throughout the country to find young authors of poetry who are so eloquent. And yes, Parker, how many times they had to rehearse that to get the in sync, ooh, and the looks between them. It was very well done. It said a lot in under a couple of minutes. So, a couple of things that jumped out at me were the audience's reactions. They did not react to a young boy being chased by his classmates into the woods. They started to stir when it was women and losing our autonomy, probably because Roe versus Wade, and it's raw. I'll say that. But there was not any outward recognition for what that young man had to say until the end. And it was more it's saying to the lady, if you think you understand, you must have a brain full of bacteria. That audience gasped. Poetry, good poetry, it is supposed to make you feel some kind of way. And it is also to illustrate, to pull out the hypocrisy in society. I would hope that audience would do a little self-reflection. Why were they so willing to react to the woman's plight? And why was the only reaction to the young man a gasp of surprise? So it's just one little thing, just the psychology behind that is fascinating.
Well, for me, and I'm glad you illustrated those, you elevated those points. So this goes into some of the work that I believe in, right? Which is why you hear me saying about uncensored whiteness and things like that. And I'm not saying that as like a negative towards white culture or
No,
white communities or white. I'm saying for your own self benefit and self healing, you need to learn how to focus on yourself. You know, black folk, focus on yourself. Life is a competition, and we are all competing. Now, if you can't identify with your team, then your team will never really get strong enough in the competition to be able to place higher and do more. White people generally, like you were just saying, like, why could they react to her, but they couldn't really react to him? Well, he's an anomaly.
Right.
He is external to their lived experience. Plenty of white people in America can go their whole day and never see one of us unless they turn on the TV. Okay? So,
I
but we
believe
all
that
have a
was in
woman.
Charlotte, South Carolina.
Perhaps, but we still live in very isolated communities. So
Okay.
those of us who live in a very interactive community where we work with different cultures, sometimes we do better, sometimes we actually do worse. But that's a different thing. But what I'm saying is we all have a woman in our lives. Like it's like very few of us don't have a woman in our lives. We got a daughter, a sister, a niece, a mama, a grandmama, right? But you don't necessarily have a black person in your life. And one of the ways I illustrate this is when I'm talking to like black people, because we get lost in the black white dynamic way too much. I ain't worried about white folks. Okay. What I would like, but what I try to illustrate the point though is, when's the last time you thought about the plight of the Filipino? That's my
Hmm.
favorite group to pick at. When's the last time you thought about the plight of the Filipino in America? What's their life like? What do they deal with? What are some of their obstacles? The way that you go your whole day and your whole week and your whole month and never once think about Filipinos, that's how they can live their life about you. What makes you so damn special that they need to think about you every day? Ask yourself that.